Good afternoon, everyone. Today, we'll continue with the 10th session of this special webinar series on mainstreaming for industrial revolution, organized by the UNIDO Directorate of Digitalization, Technology, Business. We will continue embarking us on a more depth examination of technologies and business models, their operational mechanisms, and their relevance in the context of sector. Dear all, my name is Alejandro Pera. I am the UNIDO DGA Directorate Executive Officer, and I will create these 10 sessions titled Harnessing Digitalization for More Effective Investment Promotion Efforts. For this occasion, we have invited the following speakers: Mr. Bernardo Casadilla, Managing Director, the Directorate of Digitalization, Technology and Agribusiness. Dr. Casadilla has been the Director for Technical Assistance and Training at the International Organization of Standardization, ISO, as Director of Department of Trade, Investment and Innovation, formerly now the Department of Digitalization, Technology and Innovation. Dr. Casadilla has been leading the work on quality and standards for trade, facilitation, investment for sustainable development and innovation in the context of the fourth industrial revolution. With more than 25 years of international experience in global development, his involvement includes working in Africa, Asia, and Latin America. We have also with us Ms. Francisca Struth, Senior Consultant from Fogler Economic Development Consultants. Francisca is a specialized consultant with 10 years of experience in investment promotion and industrial and innovation policy in both OECD countries and developing and transition countries. Before joining Fogler Consultant, she has been supporting the Namibian Ministry of Trade and Industry on behalf of GIZ. We have also with us Mr. Kaspar Kork. He is the director of the Estonian Investment Agency. Kaspar is the director of this organization, which is a governmental organization and belongs under the Enterprise Estonia. He has long experience attracting foreign investors to Estonia, starting almost 4 years ago as investment advisor, and today he is leading the whole investment agency. We have also Ms. Karin Schwinn-Derdak, Public Relations Officer at the Austrian Business Agency. Karin has been part of the ABA communications team for almost 24 years. During this time, she has been responsible for various communication channels, from website to advertising and media relations. Currently, she is responsible for all ABA brochures and the content and design of all public presentations. And last but not least, as in all our sessions, we will be having our colleague, Mr. Stefan Kratz, Industrial Development Officer at the Investment and Technology Promotion Division. Stefan has been working for UNIDO for more than 15 years in investment promotion and private sector development. Stefan managed a wide range of UNIDO projects in different geographical regions, focusing on capacity building for investment promotion agencies in investment monitoring, attraction, retention, and aftercare. And we will be hearing more on the latest developments that Stefan is currently leading. Dear colleagues, the global pandemic prompted investment promotion agencies to adopt digital solutions to become effective and continue reaching investors through virtual means. With traditional investment promotion events like roadshows are cancelled or postponed, digital and cloud-based investor relationship management systems, digital databases, libraries, and other online collaboration tools became critical enablers of this environment to ensure business continuity. This session will discuss more successful examples and assess their applicability in the context of more resource-constrained investment promotion agencies in developing countries. First, our Managing Director, Mr. Bernardo Casadilla Sarmiento, will start today the webinar with welcome remarks. Then our invited panelists will provide insights on some of the strategies and technologies adopted and their potential opportunities and risks, while our colleague Stefan will give insights on the work that UNIDO is doing to support the digital transition of developing countries through investment promotion agencies. Our external invited panelists will provide insights on some of the strategies and technologies adopted and their potential opportunities and risks. And we will have first an initial round of initial presentations from the panelists. And later on, we will continue with questions as usual in these sessions. We will encourage all those that are attending to this webinar to raise your questions using the questions and answer box at the bottom of your screen. For your information, we will be recording this session and we will make the panelist presentation available on our internal knowledge hub afterwards, as with the previous sessions. Having said that, I would like to give the floor to our speakers, and I will welcome our first speaker, Mr. Bernardo Casadilla. The floor is yours.
I have been muted. I have to unmute. The host muted me. Good afternoon. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. I'm very...
You are mute, Bernardo.
No?
Now it's okay.
I tried to unmute before, but I was not allowed. Too early. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much, Alejandro. And it's a big pleasure to be here this afternoon with all of you to open this interesting webinar as part of our large series. This webinar will focus on migrating into investment promotion in a digital world. But I want to highlight, we had a series of and Alejandro mentioned it already, of very interesting seminars on both elements that are the mega trends and are the topics today. On the one side, we have COVID-19, and it's almost impossible not to talk about it. And the other element, which is correlated a bit, is the fourth industrial revolution and digitalization. And why I think it is correlated, because definitely while the trend on the rapid accelerated technological transformation has been going on for some years already, COVID-19 has brought a point of no return. It has brought a point of no return for many elements. And one of the important features that we had, for example, in the past, the fourth industrial revolution terminology has been shaped, as a matter of fact, in Hannover Messe. And in Hannover Messe, it's when we first heard about Industry 4.0. The question, will the future of this fairs will the same in the future? It is a way to transfer of technology. It is a way of getting investment. Many things are going to change. So at the end of the day, the COVID-19 pandemic has brought digital transformation to a point of no return, and everybody has to embrace it. Another important element of the pandemic certainly is that FDI has dropped. SDI has dropped and is dropping dramatically. And this has also important consequences of how targeted and selective and more specific now the efforts to attract investment will have to be. One of the trends we expect is intra-regional trade will increase, digitalization will increase, customization, this means the power of consumer will increase. We don't know what the new revitalization of WTO will bring. There is a discussion on investment facilitation. There is a discussion on new policies for investment. But what is clear is that these new technologies will play a very important role in the future. And this is what this discussion is today about, is how these digital and cloud-based solutions will forge new investor relationship management system, digital databases, libraries, online collaboration, and all this in order to ensure two also basic elements that come with the pandemic: business continuity and resilience. And is resilience of the business sector, but it's resilience also of our main partners, which are the IPAs. So we will have concrete examples now, and we will see how they can be applied in more countries. Especially for us, the big challenge is what can be a good lesson for developing countries for LDCs. I think that we want all to listen to our speakers, and I will not take more of your time. Thank you very much, and have a successful discussion. Thank you, Alejandro.
Thank you very much, Bernardo, for these nice words, and we really appreciate your guidance on as usual on these webinars and the activity. Thank you very much. We will start now with the panelists presentation. The first one is Ms. Francisca. Francisca, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Just going to open my presentation quickly. I've been asked to start with giving a quick overview of what it actually is that an investment promotion agency does. So what you see here is the investment attraction cycle, and it basically captures the 3 core tasks that make up an IPA's efforts to attract investment. So the first one would be investment promotion, geared towards creating awareness for an investment location, be it a country, be it a region, be it a city, improve the image of said investment location, and generate the interest from potential investors. So that usually involves any and all marketing activities, PR, events, targeted lead generation campaigns that are really geared towards identifying potential investors and getting their attention. But also things like collaborating with intermediaries such as industry associations, chambers of commerce. So anything that can get the attention of potential investors and get information about the investment location out there. The second step will be, or the second core task will be investment facilitation, geared towards securing and fast tracking investment projects. And really that part should be ideally very individualized and geared towards any investor's very specific needs. So support areas range from providing information, assisting investors in the process of site selection and identifying suppliers and everything that comes with that, but also navigating administrative processes, which are different in every country, can be cumbersome sometimes. So any help and support that an IPA can give an investor and actually making the project come true. The last part, or the last core task, would be aftercare. I think in light of the pandemic, we hear a lot about the topic of aftercare, as it has risen to the top of the agenda for many IPAs, looking to address uncertainties that have been brought on by the pandemic and looking to retain an ongoing investment project. So we've heard in the opening remarks that FDI is dropping. So really it's important to hold on to the investors that you already have in your country. So the idea is, an aftercare to stay with the investor, give them information, help get into troubleshooting, whatever needs to be done to retain the investor, scale up the investment and the impact of the investment, and ultimately also advocate to the government to improve the investment environment based on what we've learned from the investor. So throughout all the activities geared towards investment attraction, IPAs use digital promotion and facilitation tools. That's a trend that's already been going on before the pandemic, but obviously everything that's been going on since then has accelerated that trend. So when we're looking at those different tools, very basic ones would be online marketing, including a website, social media, online marketing campaigns, search engine optimization. I think we'll hear some more about that from the other speakers. Then we have data-driven investor targeting. That is often outsourced to commercial providers who track investment trends, track individual investor decisions, basically also using algorithms, AI, to be able to predict what's going to be a company's next move and help IPAs identify which companies, which sectors to target. So that's a big one. Customer relationship management software. Obviously, it's important to build trust, to build a relationship with potential investors. So those kind of tools can help you keep track of that and optimize that. And then we have digital one-stop shops, basically online platforms that will allow an investor to carry out all administrative tasks in one place, registering the business, getting permits, and so on. I just say with that, that's typically not something that an IPA can do on their own. That basically needs a whole of government approach to e-governance to make that happen. Now, things that come more with the pandemic and are more advanced solutions that IPAs are putting in place now involve targeted webinars that are really geared towards specific target groups, getting the attention of those investors. We have virtual events and roadshows. I think especially ABA will be talking about that some more later. And another big topic at the moment is virtual site visits, as there's no travel, no personal contact. So I want to talk about that some more, the type of solutions that IPAs have come up. One big trend that came up last year was virtual reality or augmented reality site visits, which are actually starting to become an option as the technology is advancing rapidly. It's becoming more affordable. However, there's no IPA that has already made that a standard operating procedure. So we have few examples where IPAs have already started to try and do that, but that's really just beginning. What we see more is really hands-on approaches. Some IPAs have started to offer drone flyovers to potential investors when they're in a later stage in the facilitation process and really want to see the sites. Even more hands-on, there's examples of investment promotion officers just taking their investors on a tour of facilities with their smartphone cameras. So anything to bridge the distance. I've brought you an example here of the 3D model of Berlin. The Berlin City IPA has been using that version of it since 2018, and that actually allows investors to fly over the whole city of Berlin and get a look at all the different sites. It's actually available at the Berlin Business Location Center. That is a website as well as a physical place that you can go to, and they offer tours of the city. It's a public-private partnership together with commercial partners in the city, real estate agencies and such. Yeah, looking to get in touch with the investor early on too. So that's one of the best practice examples. Another digital tool that I'd like to highlight are geographical information systems that are actually being used by many IPAs already. This example is from Brandenburg in the capital region of Germany. They have a GIS system that has over 100,000 data points on various location factors. What's special about them is they also include editorial content. So depending on what information you type in, what data points you want to visualize on the map, they also give you articles, editorial content that is catered to you and to what you seem to be interested in. And they also provide dedicated contacts depending on what you've been searching for. So yeah, it's already the next step to get in touch with the IPA is built in already. That's it from me for now. I think that was 8 minutes, so thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Francisca, particularly for bringing us on this explanation on the investment attraction core elements and the digital tools solutions that are in place right now and that you are taking considerations. Thank you very much. We will continue now with the next speaker. Kaspar, the floor is yours.
So hello everybody. It's actually glad to be here, and although if we can't attend so many physical events, thank God we have this kind of solutions that we can organize these kind of events via online. So I will give you a really quick overview about the Estonian Investment Agency, how we promote Estonia as a perfect place to come and invest and make your companies here. And also a couple of tools or digital tools what we are using, and also due to the Corona year what we had all last year, we implement very many new tools. So first, so of course, how we promote Estonia, we don't promote Estonia as a small country. We promote Estonia as a part of whole region. So we definitely are really proud to say that we are one of the country in Northern Europe's hub for knowledge and digital businesses. And how we say, or how we can say that Estonia is so digital, is that we already have used those digital solution on a state level for many years. So a couple of indicators that if the companies are coming, they know that most of our state services are already in online. We have Estonian ID card, which helps to use those e-services, because very many countries, if you start to develop those digital tools, you also need to have users. Otherwise, it's difficult to develop those new solutions more and more. And if we're talking about companies, what they can benefit, for example, foreign investors, what they can benefit using Estonian environment is that thanks to e-residency, what we can offer those foreign investors, thanks to the e-residency card, they can establish companies, which usually takes only a couple of hours. All the banking is done also online. If you're an Estonian citizen or have residential permit, then you can even open your bank accounts via online. And one really important part is also declaring your taxes. In Estonia, most of our people are using this solution, and average time is around 3 minutes. So it's really convenient. So what we as Estonian investment agencies are doing, I guess more other IPAs, that we're doing the regular work as promoting different sectors. We are organizing visits, putting together value propositions. So last year, what we need to do is that we have the whole customer journey. We really quickly need to move the client journey to online. So for that we managed to create many different solutions, like also Francisca mentioned, like online visits and site visits, what we can offer using different drones and so forth. Although last year we noticed that generating new leads and putting together value propositions, you can also do it remotely. But online visits, this was definitely the bottleneck last year. So if some of the sectors are using this kind of online visits, but most of the sectors are, how to say, a little bit like old school, they would like to see with their own eyes and touch with their own hands if first they will make the investment. So this was definitely the bottleneck, but I think the important thing is that you have the capacity or you have the solution for those who are willing to accept this kind of online tours. And then after the company has made the decision to invest in Estonia, then definitely the aftercare part is even more important than before, because right now, if there is not so many new investment decisions, it's important to hold those existing companies and help them to reinvest. So what else? So what are those concrete digital tools what we have? So one thing is the value proposition tool. If you talk with different investors, they don't want to feel like that they are just some number that you are sending some brochures or you're sending out links. So what we have developed, we have this customized value proposition tools that before we had to put so many hours in it to send it out this kind of value proposition. But right now we have a little bit this kind of like automatic tool that you can really quickly personalize this value propositions in different sectors and so forth. So this is definitely the tool which have been really helpful. So I take 2 more minutes, so I try to really quickly also sum it up. But so the other tool what we have is visits.ee. So all the time, if you know that we would like to, generate new leads, or we would like to push some projects that maybe is on hold, or there is some extra push that they would like to make the decisions, we have this visits.ee where we gather lots of information about this from Estonia. What is the interest from Estonian companies? Then we also involve some minister from different ministries. And then we put together this delegation, really looking forward what is the main interest from Estonian companies side, and also what is the pipeline what the Estonian Investment Agency has. So where we should organize those visits, we analyze this information and bring with us some VIP or minister. So that's what we also do, and definitely we are monitoring how the results are going. Or, for example, last year we really clearly saw what was the bottleneck, and if we saw that we can't organize so many visits, then we really quickly refocus our targets, and then we focus our targets generating rather new leads, or sending more value propositions, or communicating with more projects on our table. And one of the last slide what we also implement last year was that EIA, which is Electronic Investment Advisor. Of course, I know that most of IPAs, the resources are limited, so we can't deal with all of the inquiries, but for us, it's still to give some feedback for all of them. So for that, EIA will help us, and then EIA is pretty much this automated tool that if we got those inquiries, we map what are the needs, and the system can put together automatically this kind of personalized value proposition that we will send to them. And if those investors and those projects are big enough, then we set some specific investment advisor who take this lead on his table or her table, and then start to communicate actively with them. But yeah, this is really short overview about our activities and then some of the digital tools what we have. And I'm really happy to answer your question later on if we have the panel discussion. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Kaspar, and thank you for bringing us on all what is really a digital transformation means for investment promotion, and particularly for the in-depth insight of these specific tools that you mentioned. Thank you very much. We will continue now with the next panelist, and Karin, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody here from Vienna. I'm trying to find the start of my presentation. So Kaspar showed us the more sophisticated tools of investment promotions. So that shows why Estonia is one of the front runners of digitalization in Europe, or the world even. Let's get back to a little bit basic work. ABA goes digital. When I joined ABA, so that's just a short overview about what we do. We have 3 lines of work mainly, and the most important still being the investment promotion. Then my colleagues from work in Austria try to interest talents from mostly Eastern European countries, mostly from the ICT sector, to come and work here in Austria. And we still have another line of business trying to attract international film projects to Austria. So this scene you see is one of the latest James Bond movies that was set here in Sölden, in the ski area. What were our first steps in going digital? Of course, we started with a website 25 years ago, so that's very basic. Then we had an electronic newsletter. which is a very good tool to keep in touch with our customers. We send it out bi-weekly in German and in English to about 18,000 people. So they get regular news from the business location Austria mostly. Maybe some research news as well that might interest them. Then we started the first steps in using social media tools with Twitter, which was not a good idea because Twitter here in Austria is a tool mostly for journalists, so multipliers. So then we decided to make the next steps to LinkedIn, which is a very good tool for investment promotion, we found out. We have a corporate account, and many of my colleagues, as well as myself, have their own account. So they share the news, they like the news, and they get a lot of interaction with their customers there. And of course, we have a Facebook site now, a corporate one. Then 2.5 years ago, we found a person for search engine optimization, and that was the leap in digging up all the data we needed. She is responsible not only for the optimization, but also for the data-driven marketing we do now. And she is the one who evaluates all the outcome. So what do? Google Ads. You might have guessed that. What is very important, we do it in, I don't know, 11 languages, I think, trying to get the customers in their mother tongue. Retargeting is one of the topics as well. So we use all kinds of different display banners, again, in as many languages as possible. Once visitors have been to our website, they get retargeted until they finally fill out the contact form and get in touch with us. Otherwise, they can get rid of us. No. We try to attract them to landing pages. You can see here the landing page as it is with the team picture. But if a person from Germany reacts, he or she gets the right contact here to the right person. This is Bernhard, he is responsible for the German market. Or if you're from France or the northern countries, you get in contact with Martina, who is director for Western Europe. And starting last year, we had social media ads as well. These are the ones for Austria as a country for doing research. So first step was to create awareness, just get people curious, what might that be about? And in the second phase, we shared some information with them about the research location Austria, about the benefits, about the tax benefits you could get here if you started a research facility here in Austria. And then we had, of course, we had testimonials. This is the CEO of a German prosthetics developer who tells the world why it's a good idea to do the research right here in Vienna and not in other places. What else do we do? As I mentioned, retargeting is very important to remind people of ABA or of Austria. Actually, we're talking about Austria, not about our company. Most important is the integration with CRM. I said, Franziska mentioned that all the data goes into our customer relationship management tool. Once they fill out the request for the newsletter, or once they fill in the contact form, their data is passed on to the CRM. mostly in the beginning, we only have their email address, but that's not the problem because it helps us to stay in contact and then finally to establish the relationship. Last year during the pandemic, we had the problem, as mentioned before, and like everybody else had, there were no travels possible. Events couldn't take place. There were no one-to-one meetings like we were used to. So my colleagues and me came up with the idea to do it online. We had events that were quite successful. A couple of my colleagues would team up, would share their insights with all the investors that wanted to listen. We had experts coming to our office. We, as you can see in the picture, we changed our meeting room into a TV studio. And then we just started, we tried and were surprised how good everything came out. We had already had 2 events, big ones in May and in October last year, with about 350 participants for both of them from 36 countries. And there's going to be another one in March. So if you're interested how that works, and if you're interested in Austria, maybe you want to learn something about Austria, just come and join us on March 11. Here, this is a link in the presentation. You just have to click that. If there are more questions, please feel free to contact me, and then I will pass it on to the colleagues that might be able to answer you, or even I might do it myself then. Thank you very much, and I'm looking forward to the discussion.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Karin, for bringing us on the how the Austrian business agencies has been doing during these challenging times. We will continue now with our colleague Stefan. Stefan, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much, colleagues. It's a pleasure to be part of this important webinar. It's a pleasure to meet the other panelists and to learn about the very interesting work they do. The presentation that I have prepared, or the perspective I would like to bring, is naturally one that is in the context of my work at UNIDO, is naturally one from a developing country IPA. And we will find, unfortunately, that developing country IPAs are still very far away from the benchmark examples that we have seen in the previous presentations. So, and what this observation and what this finding means in terms of designing our future technical cooperation is also part of the presentation I'm going to make in the next few minutes. So what we find from our own research with developing country IPAs is really sort of a clash between the understanding that data as the driving force for doing investment promotion work, which is data-driven, which is based on empirical evidence, which is based on understanding the causalities between investors, their needs, and the leads they generate. There's a clash between the relevance, the understanding the relevance, and the actual reality. So we see from our work with IPAs, they all would agree to say that data, investor-related data, is relevant, whether this is in terms of investment opportunity profiling, feasibility analysis, aftercare, impact on the economy of foreign direct investment, understanding FDI activities in the countries, and so on. But when we look at how this then translates into actually budgetary allocations within those IPAs, we see quite a severe mismatch between these two. So those functions within IPAs that need investor-related data the most to make meaningful packages to any incoming investor would be research and quality assurance. And these struggling the most to get an appropriate budget allocation. So many IPAs still to be seen stuck in, let's say, in the service or in the practices of the previous century, which is very much focused on image building and investor attraction, but not really investor development or seeing the investor as a partner that needs to be groomed and developed over a long period of time. So with this in mind, it was already mentioned in the introduction by Alejandro, we have the opportunity to make a modest contribution as part of UNIDO in the framework of a flagship program that we have under implementation in the Africa, Caribbean, Pacific region. This is a project financed by the European Commission and implemented in cooperation with the Organization of African, Caribbean, Pacific States. And by and large, this program, the objective of this program is to mobilize additional investments, foreign direct investment, impact investments, but also domestic investments. And through having or presenting to those investors an enhanced investment climate. So this is the impact and the outcome level. So now what we can actually manage and control at the project management level are activities and outputs. And here within this program, we look at 5 work streams. The first one is to help IPAs develop investment promotion strategies and link to that targeting strategies for foreign direct investors. The second work stream is on investment opportunity development, so creating pipelines to be presented to incoming investors, a bit like what was shown by Kaspar in Estonia. Then the aspect of aftercare, also as we learned, gaining increased relevance in the times of COVID-19, as well as evidence-based policy advocacy. So these are 4 work streams. And the way we have conceived this program is there is really one work stream, which is the pivot, which sits in the middle. And that is one which is helping IPAs or providing systems and methodologies for IPAs to collect data and then to harness this data to actually feed into the more efficient and effective execution of all the other 4 work streams. So when we do this type of work, so the question is, what type of data do we need to collect? In many cases, unfortunately, in IPAs in least developed countries, these IPAs do not even have the most basic investor information. So investor information is captured at the time of registering the investment, but is that then not updated constantly. So an investor may have established 15 years ago, making, let's say, claims or announcements about the investment projects, but the IPAs in developing countries usually have no means to then validate and verify later on or over time dynamically if some of these announcements have actually been met or if the investor has lived up to expectation in terms of impact and so on. So our first intervention would be to help IPAs build a client base, so to know who is in the country and what's the basic structure of those in the country. And then we look at the data part. We look at 4 main blocks. So the first block would be to understand the perception of these investors about the prevailing business climate. So we would look at the perception of the investor about the efficacy of the services provided by the IPA itself in terms of solving problems, in terms of proposing new options for investments, but also other related perception data in terms of the effectiveness of bilateral investment treaties, using the country as a hub to export regionally and so on. Then we have 3 more blocks, the one on profile and FDI performance. So here we would be looking at sales and exports. So how well is the company doing? Always following the notion that a company which is performing well will be likely to reinvest and will also be likely to spread the word of mouth to any other new investor which is interested in the country. Then a very important aspect is on local impact. So what do these FDI bring to the economy in terms of job creation, not any type of jobs, but also jobs that are relevant within the context of the fourth industrial revolution, the gender dimension and so on. And then of course, finally, a trend tracker to see how this investment is going. Are there new groups emerging or other groups losing importance and so on, so that the IPA can almost in real time recalibrate its investor outreach. This is just a small example on how data could help IPAs recalibrate their services. So if data is available, the IPA would know which segments of existing investors to be targeted with specific aftercare services. So again, the IPA, and this follows a bit what Kaspar has presented, is the IPA staff is limited, so they cannot provide the same amount of time, the same intensity of support to any type of investor. So understanding, perhaps following from the Pareto principle, to understand that 20% of your investors that are accountable for 80% of the jobs, 80% of the capital formation, etc., is something that becomes important. So, so how all this then can be used in terms of a digital platform? I see Alejandro appearing, but I still would need 2 minutes to quickly present that video, please. Thank you. So thank you very much. So just as a last sentence, so this portal is, the development of this portal is very advanced. We are now looking at the modalities for its launch in this year. And we see this as the various streams on data collection in terms of investor projects, in terms of investor profiles, coming together as a kind of meta-level website, which is not a substitute for national level website, but is actually one that could cater to the needs of an investor that is not looking at specific individual ACP countries, but rather as ACP, African, Caribbean, Pacific, as an entire region. Thank you.
Thank you, Stefan. Thank you very much. I think this is a very graphic and very nice example on how we can support our member states, particularly developing countries, to reap the benefits of the fourth industrial revolution on particularly in an area like investment promotion, which is very demanded by all of them. And also is validating one of the main paradigms of the fourth industrial revolution regarding data. The relevance of data is not also important for the future, but for a field like investment promotion as well. Thank you very much. We will start now with the first round of questions. For the first question, I will refer to Francisca. Francisca, to what extent has COVID-19 hindered traditional investment promotion practices, and how has digitalization enabled your company to continue its business operation and identify new opportunities?
I think we've already heard a lot about that. So the main hindrance is no travel, no personal contact, limited opportunities to really build these personal relationships that you often need in order to get an investor, especially when it comes to developing countries where trust really needs to be built. So we've seen from Invest in Estonia, ABA, that there are solutions to that, to have digital virtual events. And I would say that there's also a merit in that, especially for developing countries. When you look at investors who have a general interest in a region or a country, but not really fully formed, ready to make an investment decision, they are less likely to travel across the globe to attend a conference or a webinar or a workshop. So these virtual events make it more likely that somebody who has a basic interest will tune in, maybe even just for a few minutes, and you get their attention that way. So these virtual events can have a huge benefit.
Okay, thank you very much. The next question is with Kaspar. What are the main challenges that Estonia Investment Promotion Agency is facing to promote the adoption of these digital tools? And if there are existing regulations fit for purpose? In your case, how did you address data management issues?
Very good question. So actually, to be honest, to use those digital tools, I don't see any obstacles because, you know, as the whole country is so digital, so also the legislation is really supportive in terms of this kind of solution. But if we still I need to point out some obstacles. What I still saw last year was the physical visits that we can't organize. But yeah, I can't see any obstacles using those digital solutions, but only as those physical visits, what was the biggest minus last year.
So do you say then that the policy framework that you have in your country has really supported all this, I mean, the adoption of all these digital tools in your case?
Yeah, it's really supportive. So yeah, there is the whole system in Estonia, it's decentralized, and we are also using blockchain as a national level. So in Estonia, there is a saying that you know, we have once only principle, that everybody put their information in some cloud, but it's really protected. So and we trust all those systems. So it's not an obstacle at all if we bring out some new digital tool what we want to use.
Great, thank you very much. I think it's interesting maybe for some colleagues how we can link it not only to talk about the the GIS systems, but also blockchain is coming into the picture as well. Thank you very much. We will continue with the other question for Karim. Karim, you have provided a very informative presentation on how Austrian business agency improved digital awareness among Austrian companies and leverage foreign direct investment opportunities. But how ABA helps businesses to digitalize their commercial manufacturing operations?
Actually, we don't. we don't target the Austrian businesses because they are not our customers. Our customers are companies from abroad setting up business in Austria. So they have their digital tools and they know their business. There is one line of our job, as I mentioned in my first slide, the colleagues from work in Austria, they recruit or help to recruit talents from other European countries, mostly from Eastern European countries, and mostly from the ICT sector to come to Austria to work here. So that would be the assistance we could give to companies on their way to digitalization to help them to find the right experts.
Okay. Okay. We will continue then with the other question. Stefan, how can UNIDO leverage 4th Industrial Revolution technologies that connect impact investors and innovative startups and SMEs to boost private investment flows into the achievement of the SDGs? What are the implications for developing countries?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the question. I think what we see in the ever-growing impact investment market, if I can take this as an example, is that there seems to be a lot of liquidity and a surplus of capital, which is waiting to be invested. But the main issue, the main challenge is where to invest such a capital. So this is on one side. On the other side, there are a lot of entrepreneurs. There is a vibrant startup scene in Africa, for example, in hubs like Nairobi in South Africa, in Nigeria, etc. But very often these very interesting projects, including projects that are linked to, let's say, a social and environmental dimension, which is what impact investors are most interested, they are not being brought out into the limelight, so to say. So, and the good thing is that UNIDO is operating through projects, whether this is a traditional SME development project in quality infrastructure support, etc. UNIDO has its feet on the ground. So what can we do to make these SMEs more visible, the ideas they have, the projects they have, and link them to the capital, which is waiting to be invested? And I think here we have a platform like the one I have mentioned. That platform remains a platform unless it is obviously filled with content. So that will be a big challenge. But we are also confident, given that we have so many projects and programs ongoing on the ground. And then, yeah, describing what the project is about, making it searchable in terms of ticket size, in terms of subsector, give it a gender marker, give it an SDG marker, so that an investor, which is having specific characteristics, can easily navigate towards those, or can easily be handheld to arrive at those short list of projects which could be interested. And then it's at that stage then where the digital tools need to be complemented by the human aspect of investment promotion. We have our colleagues from Ireland, they say investment promotion is a contact sport. Yeah? So no digital tool can ever replace the rapport that an IPA needs to build with the investor, but it can act as a funnel, so to say, in making the first selection, after which then, of course, an officer can take over. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. The next question is with Francisca. Francisca, what new skills will investment promotion agencies require to keep pace with the digital transformation of the sector?
I think that depends very much on which type of IPA we are talking about. I mean, today we saw 2 examples of IPAs that use very advanced tools and technologies for investment promotion, investment attraction. When we look towards developing country IPAs, I would say they don't need to be at the forefront of the digital transformation. They need a basic digital literacy, be able to use different tools, different platforms, have their CRM in order, all these things. But what's really important, and I think that taps into what Stefan just said, is they need to understand how the digital transformation affects the business models of their target companies, how it affects the restructuring of global value chains, and how it shapes investment trends. So in that sense, we're talking about data collection, data analysis again. So I wouldn't say it's really the forefront digital tools that developing countries need. It's more that digital literacy and understanding what those trends mean for their target companies.
Okay, thank you. The next question is with Kaspar. What is the Estonian investment agency approach toward gender lens investing, and how do you think this could contribute to the industrial and economic recovery in your country?
So yeah, it's a good question, but we don't think about this any like gender like differences. So for us, it doesn't matter. Our team is like we are half of both, you know. So and if we're looking for investors, then it's not a question for our team totally at all.
Okay, but for example, in case you don't make any type of let's say approach or differences if you try to engage with external companies to see if they are for example they are business led by women, for example, this type of.
No, we rather look this way, that if we say that the project or inquiry is coming from one specific sector, then we look into our team that who has the best competence in that sense, and then it doesn't matter if it's a man or woman. So we rather look what is her or his like professional you know, knowledge in that specific sector. But yeah, sometimes there is like very like rare cases that, for example, in Japan, if we have some companies coming in, we sometimes look these cases, but yeah, in general, it's not a question. We just like look who can give the best answer or who can provide the best service.
Okay. Well, the question was more on thinking on the way that many of businesses in most of the cases are led by men, yeah, and what we want is to provide opportunities, for example, for women to have a more prominent role in industry sectors, particularly, etc. That's why the nature of the question. Okay, but thank you. We will continue with Karim. Karim, I will change the question that we previously agreed with you, and I will have a challenge for you now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like challenges on Friday afternoon. Thanks.
I will take one from the floor that I think is interesting. Yeah. How to effectively follow up, yeah, with the new normal when you have all these virtual visits and virtual websites where you promote investment, etc. How to really effectively follow up on these virtual visits from externals or from other investors, particularly considering that physical interactions, as was in the past, is not anymore in place. I'm
not sure whether I got your question right. So how do we follow up? Which tools do we use to?
Yeah,
to
for
that?
example, when you have, as mentioned by some of the colleagues, there is now the possibility of, instead of having these physical forums for investment, instead of having those ones, they can be virtual forums where you can promote technologies or any type of.
So people register for that.
Yeah, exactly. So people make visits there. How to follow up more effectively this?
Actually, we use the same tools that we used before. because now we got the email address, we got the contact data of these people that attend our virtual open day, for instance, or the smaller events we have. And then we just send them emails and ask them, what can we do for you? Is there anything on information you need? Is there anything we can help to facilitate your entry into Austria? Yeah. So my colleagues use the same tools as they did before for that part of the customer journey. It's just the beginning that changed.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Stefan, the last question is with you. What do you consider the main three challenges to promote investment using all these digital technologies in developing countries?
Yeah, thank you for the question. Three challenges. I think the most important thing for an investor in the fourth industrial revolution, whether this is big data or cloud computing or industry 4.0, is access to digital infrastructure, which the country has to offer, the host country. And I think in the first slides that Kaspar presented, I think it was very clear that Estonia offers all that. It means it offers broadband connection, it offers ICT parks, it offers reliable energy supply. So all the things that a developed country IPA would take for granted, they can unfortunately not be taken for granted in developing countries. So I would think that this is an important aspect. And here the IPA itself can do something to actually do some feasibility analysis work, to try to forge PPPs, to engage DFIs, etc. So to overcome this backlog in terms of digital infrastructure. That's the first one. The second one is skills. A whole range of new professions is coming up on the fourth industrial revolution. And whether this is mechatronics, data analysts, software engineers, etc. And we've seen how successful IPAs, including those from developing countries, if you take Costa Rica, for example, they have, with foreign direct investors, have engaged with academia, with technology institutes, etc. And together with the investors rolled out curriculum for reskilling the existing workforce. So that is something where I would see IPAs doing a lot more of a brokering role in the future. Of course, there is also a long track solution, which is to change the vocational education, the university education in STEM, etc. But there's also a shortcut solution to that, I feel. And then another issue I would see is the lack of absorptive capacity of domestic firms, because many investors want to invest by harnessing the knowledge of a domestic firm about the market, about the distribution channels, even piggybacking on an existing brand, etc. But if those firms do not know how digital solutions can change and improve their business models, it's very difficult for those firms to lump them just together with the foreign direct investor and tell them, please, you try to establish a joint venture together. So I feel a lot of awareness creation, a lot of sensitization will have to happen with the domestic industries, and then make these domestic investors ready to engage in a meaningful and fruitful conversation with an incoming foreign direct investor. So these would be the three things.
Okay, thank you very much. I think the three elements are very valid for most of our interventions as UNIDO. Thank you, Stefan. I think this is a very good answer. Okay, colleagues, I would like to thank all of the panelists again for all your support and for providing all this knowledge that I think will be very useful for all our colleagues in the house. I want to also thank to all of you that have attended to this session. And I would like to remind at this time that we have recorded the session and we will be making this one available at the Knowledge Hub later on from DTA. All the questions will be addressed by the panelists afterwards if there are still some of them pending. In case it has been answered already, well, you have now, I think, more happy. You could be more happy on that. I will also like to take the opportunity to invite all of you to attend the following session that will be focusing on digital transformation of SMEs. And the invitation will be sent soon. With this, we are ready to close the session. I will thank you again, all the panelists, and all of you for having attending this session today. And we look forward to work with you and to implement our digital transformation journey. Thank you very much.